The soul is the golden light being that's inside everyone, not just human beings, animals, plants, inanimate objects. The soul is the essence, the blueprint of that thing, and it's eternal, as opposed to our physical body that we have for this one lifetime. We cannot not create. We're creating in every single moment. And how we're creating is by what we're thinking. Oh, there's a lot of creation going on there. We're creating through our speech. And we're creating through our actions and behaviours. We all have intuition. It's not reserved for a select few. We all have deep intuition. So it's like, trust that inner voice. The purpose of our life is to serve others, to help others become happier and healthier and more empowered and more full of light and love.
Welcome to the Humankinder podcast. My guest today has dedicated her life to bringing more love, peace, and harmony to everyone that she meets. And she really starts by embodying that herself. Her name is Madeline Agnew, and she works through the Taoist tradition, the ancient mystic Chinese tradition, which is just a beautiful, clear teaching, and brings it to life through meditation, yoga, through devotional kirtan singing, and just through embodying it on a day-to-day basis. I was blown away by Madeline's energy and lightness and joyfulness in this conversation, and we go deep into the messiness of what it means to be a human being and really explore how can we show up with more love, peace, and harmony in our everyday life for the benefit of ourselves and for all others. Let's dive in. Would you like to do as like a little pre-ritual or any sort of...
I've already done it.
You've done that?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What did you do out of interest, if you can share?
Oh, so when I was driving here, I do my whole connection, because you can do it when you're sitting by yourself meditating, but you can do it anytime. So I just connect to like the higher source that I believe in, my spirit guides, spiritual fathers and mothers, and all the empowerments inside of me, and just literally give them an empowerment to align together and share love and light through what I speak out. And I connected with your soul and just chanted for the connection and for the interview process, and to be of best service to those that get to listen to it. And
Thank you very much. And that's a lovely place to start, actually, because I've been fascinated by this, the idea, the concept, the experience of soul itself. And having been raised in a Christian background, soul was always a word that was said at church, but I never really understood what it meant. And I Googled something got to do with soul the other day, and the first hit that came up was, is the soul real? So I'd love to hear your understanding of what soul is and your journey and experience around that.
Yeah, so we could do like a 5-hour workshop on it right now. I have a soul teacher. I met a soul teacher in 2008, and who was basically traveling around the world like 11 months of the year teaching people the power of soul. So I guess the essence of what I can share with you is the soul is the golden light being that's inside everyone, not just human beings, animals, plants, inanimate objects. The soul is the essence, the blueprint of that thing, and it's eternal, as opposed to our physical body that we have for this one lifetime. And again, that then brings up the whole, but do we live more than one? Because I grew up in a family, in a Christian environment where, they don't believe in reincarnation or don't teach that. And so, but that's very much part of my belief system. I know it's not everyone's belief system, and we have to really honor, everyone's differences, everyone's different opinions and belief systems, because they're shaped from so many different environments and, and where we're at, in our soul's evolution. Should I stop there?
You can continue. It's fascinating for me to dive into this whole area because on the one hand, I've heard a lot of discourse around the very high ascendant spiritual side, which says that there is almost there's no such thing as a soul, or the soul is an illusion, the same way the human is an illusion. So the idea is that, at least that I've heard articulated, is the human self that we develop, the ego self, the personality is illusory because it pretends to be who we really are, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then when you go above that, there's actually a soul that's aware of all this human experience. And as you said, is the light being that's sort of shepherding this human through the experience and spans various lifetimes. Then above that, again, you have spirit, pure spirit. And there are a lot of people who would say, well, let's not bother with any of this this soul stuff at all. Let's just go straight to the spirit level and penetrate all illusions. And so I wonder how you think about that whole landscape of human soul, spirit, and the relationships between them, and then how you've come to those understandings yourself.
For me, and I always feel like a baby.
Let's caveat everything that's said in this podcast with that humility of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I guess at the times where I feel like I do know, then I've been humbled and going, I really don't know. I'm just very blessed to this is where I feel having a teacher who has walked the path, who embodies what they teach. Having that teacher to learn from as an example is everything. So I'll start with that because for me, I have that teacher and he's the embodiment of what he teaches and an example for me to follow. And that example is he radiates and offers unconditional love and service in every breath of his physical embodiment. So coming back to your question, I believe that there is the source soul, like the ultimate soul that we all come from, right? Some people call that God. It's got different names in different belief systems and religions. From the teachings that I follow, that source is called Tao. It's not a religion. Tao is the source, that ultimate creator. So for me, that's the ultimate soul, like the mothership where all creation comes from and returns to. So I guess that source is like the ultimate consciousness or the one consciousness. There's no separation. From that ultimate consciousness, that ultimate soul, there's constant creation, and it's called normal creation in the Tao teachings, that ultimate source soul divides, yin and yang, or heaven and Mother Earth. And so then creates everyone and everything, creates our universe, creates Mother Earth. And this process of creation is constantly happening. So everything has a soul, but everyone's soul is a part of that one bigger soul, And it's like we have to go on this journey of being in some kind of physical form and having our own personality and egos and identities, because without that, we don't have that opportunity to serve, to learn, to grow, to shed, to heal, to create, uncreate, recreate, and eventually remember, oh, I'm not my ego, I'm not my personality, I'm just this oneness, no separation, no judgment source. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me, definitely on an intellectual level. And I've had experiences which have shown me that there is no boundary between what I normally perceive myself as and everything else around me. It's like consciousness has expanded to include there's this unity experience, or I've had experiences where even the very simple one of psychologically suffering with something and then actually being able to step outside and observe the psychological suffering, and in that space of observation, it not being a neutral space, it being a space that is loving and open and kind and encouraging, which I find incredibly interesting, because logic would seem to suggest that this space that everything is appearing in, right, is, let's say, a consciousness, is awareness. That's all pretty cool that everything's arising and being known in that space. But you talked about that space as being a creative force as well. And so I'd love to dive into that a little bit, because I hear a lot of discourse about it being a sort of inert, almost like vacuous space that just, everything just appears and is known. But you're talking about a creative force in that space. Well, what do you think is the relationship between consciousness and creativity and it manifesting material things in this reality?
So my understanding at this time is, like, for us as a human being a soul in a human body at this time, we cannot not create. We're creating in every single moment. And how we're creating is by what we're thinking. Oh, there's a lot of creation going on there. A lot of it unconscious and uncontrollable. We're creating through our speech, and we're creating through our actions and behaviors. So as a human being, we are constantly creating. We can't not create. So that's like the foundation understanding. I don't know where to go from there in relation to your question.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that we are actually the creative force of the universe. The universe is creating itself through us and through everything.
Yeah.
And the question then is, well, what are we creating?
Yeah. There's an aspect of it where we have control and we're directing that, because we get to choose in every moment how we create. We do have choice. And there's also an aspect of it where what we're creating is being directed by the information that our soul carries. Because our soul is like a warehouse, and it's carrying information from all of our past lifetimes of how we've created through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. So it's an accumulation of all that. The soul is like this huge memory bank or data bank, right? So everything that we've done, said, thought in all of our past lifetimes, it's like recorded in our soul's data bank, this warehouse of information. And it's that information that's directing our heart. It's directing how our consciousness is shaped, our perception, and then what physically manifests through our body, through our actions. So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, it's incredible, because I hear how you hear a lot how the soul knows. If you just drop back and you just allow, and you sort of tuck into your own intuition and allow that to guide you, there's a knowingness inside you that knows where you should be going and what you should be doing. So for example, this podcast for me came from a dream that my soul had to explore these areas more. And for the longest time, I was terrified to openly speak about these sorts of things, because for fear of judgment of other people. But yet there's something inside me that's like, no, like, this is the thing that really lights you up. Pursue it.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's a real choice and real work to be done to earn the right to be able to even listen to that soul. And you mentioned to me in our prep for this that you see yourself as working with people in that soul realm. So I'd love to hear about, how do you describe the sort of work that you do with people on this?
Okay. Can I just come back to
Sure.
something you just said about really having to work to listen. Because for me, and it's just my experience, it's actually the most natural, innate thing in the world to listen and to act from our soul. It's just through all of our colorful experiences in life as a human and the things that have shaped our experiences, traumas, etc., there's like layers of interference, that can help block us from being able to really tap in and listen. But at the same time, it's the most innate and natural thing. Like when I first connected to my spiritual teacher and his teachings, one of the first things I learned was say hello to your soul. Just like you, I got here this morning, I said, hi, good morning, happy Monday. Say that to your soul. Dear my soul, I love you. You have the power to heal yourself. You have the power to become happier and healthier, direct my life. Like, so simple. Say hello to who you truly are. And then the second thing is I learned how to bring out my soul's voice, because that's what we're naturally speaking. That's the sound we're naturally and innately making as soon as we're born. And then depending on what area, country, family that we're born into, then we learn, the native tongue, of that family, of that environment. So when I started to say hello and when I started to bring out and listen to and commune with the sound, the true voice of my soul, it felt like the most natural thing I'd ever done. So I just wanted to share that. And I can't remember the other part of your question.
Yeah, I'd like to pause there as well, because I think that is beautifully said. And there's a sense of naturalness and freedom in your listening to this part of yourself. And yet, when it comes to aligning your life with what that part of you is saying, it can be a totally different thing. But I'd love to hear from you. If I'm someone listening to this podcast and I'm sort of curious about what you're saying, I kind of get what you mean. Like, how would I actually know when it's my soul speaking? Or what are the signs in my experience, in my body, that I could look to or point to? I want to develop and start this conversation.
Yeah. A good place is just that gut instinct, right? We all have intuition. It's not reserved for a select few. We all have deep intuition, and you were guided by that, to create this podcast. So it's like, trust that inner voice. I used to hear this inner voice and outer voices all the time, and I'd be like, what is that? And then I was like, oh, that's the inner voice of my soul, or that's like my spiritual and fathers and mothers speaking to me. So it comes down to trust, and there is a feeling that comes to that, like a real inner knowing, and you instinctually feel that.
Yeah. It's for me, it's been difficult in my life to parse that inner knowing from another thought.
Yeah.
But the more I work with people in this space, the more they say things to me like, I don't really know what to do in my life, because every option seems like it would be okay. Every option, there's pros and cons to every option.
Yeah.
And I can tell from when they're saying that they're just on a mind level, they're lining up different things, and they're not actually listening to that intuition. And my experience of listening to that intuition is that you first have to commit to radical self-honesty. And you first have to really say, well, I'm actually not going to tell a lie again to myself or to other people. Because, as you mentioned, the cultural conditioning we're in, we often mask our inner voice around other people and we tell other people what they want to hear rather than what we truly feel on the inside.
Yeah.
And that's a real journey. Is that something that you've experienced as well in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, I guess, the way a lot of us have been raised in the Western society, and again, this is very generalized. We're sort of brought up where a disconnection happens, and then there's not the encouragement to hold on to the connection. So it's like we don't trust ourselves, and then we kind of lean into and listen more to our ego or our emotions, and identify with our emotions as being that voice, that real inner dialogue. And to reestablish the connection, you got to listen from here. Or for some people, it might be, there's no coincidence that gut instinct is a term, because some people really feel it here or in other parts of the body. But I feel like these are the two areas, because how we're educated, generalized, is the focus is up here in the head. But actually, this is where we need to come from.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think the combination of the gut, the heart, and the head together is really interesting, because when it's coming out from your head, the question really is, where is it coming from? Like, what's fueling that? Because we've had this nervous system for 500 million years, and it's really sensing things out. And it's in that, however, it's in that kind of milieu of the nervous system and the gut, your thoughts actually are arising on top of that. We seem to believe that the thoughts are the things that are in control, and they're pure and they're not connected to those things. But actually, when you're in an angry place with someone, all of the thoughts you're having is, well, how can you get back at them? But then when you're in a peaceful kind of joy place, then the thoughts change. It's like the fuel changes and then the thoughts change along with it.
Yeah.
And so it's always curious to ask, well, where is that really coming from?
Yeah. Because if we look at the head, the brain, if we associate the mind with the brain, and obviously we've got consciousness in every cell of our body, but obviously the brain and the mind is representative of that. And that's very much swayed by ego, emotions. It's colored, right? So that's why it can be like a pendulum, and you don't really want to rely on and trust. We definitely need our brain, our consciousness, our mind, our intellect, but it's not what we want to rely on. Yeah, there's ancient wisdom shares that the spiritual heart center is actually the home of our soul and our mind. So if we look at wanting to heal or balance or create more peace in our mental body and our emotional body, we work on the soul, heart, mind connection here in this center of our body, and you mentioned the word peace before. That's like so valuable for not only like self-transformation, healing, the purpose of meditating. If we can establish and work on peace here in the heart, then it's going to create a more peaceful landscape and environment in our head. And then we've naturally got more clarity. We're making choices. We're acting from a place that has clarity and alignment.
What does peace mean to you?
Peace means to me, it's a frequency, and it means no disturbance or free of disturbance.
And so how do you help, or maybe even your own journey to uncovering that inner peace? What has that been like for you, and what is it like for you to strive towards that state, or to try and tune into that frequency more?
Yeah, well, I don't always feel it. But that's where practice comes in. because navigating our human life and experiences day in, day out, there's always going to be external environment factors that disrupt how peaceful we may feel in our heart, in our body, in our head. And then there's also our own internal factors like the dialogue that could be disrupting our inner peace. So for me, that's where meditation and practices that are meditative, whether it's more yin, meditation, or more active. I'm very much into active meditation as well. This is where it's a non-negotiable for life. Yeah.
So a daily meditation practice is key, and you're focused specifically on cultivating this sense of inner peace. And you mentioned how things come up and pop up in your life. I have had a lot of experiences recently around self-worth, and almost the opposite of peace is putting conditions on everything. And so there's all of these conditions that I have to meet in order to be worthy and therefore then be peaceful as a result. And so I found that I developed this psychological stability through setting goals, setting targets, putting in place habits. And if I did those things, or if I met those goals, then I was good and I was allowed to be peaceful.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't, I wasn't. And so I'd love to hear a bit about your own journey in this space and how you came to value peace as a really strong outcome and start to have to let go of some of those other things that get in the way.
Yeah. You said the key words or key messages. It's like, so establishing peace and reestablishing it each day, because it's like you can establish it, but then you can lose it very quickly. Yeah, I guess for me, part of that's daily practice and rituals, because our habits and rituals are very, an important aspect of that, and being aware and developing awareness, right? If we've got these inner dialogues and messages that are affecting our self-worth, if we don't have awareness of that, and what's that inner voice speaking, or what we're listening to and believing, then we're not going to be able to transform it. So awareness is absolutely key. Like inner listening is absolutely key. Doing that with self-compassion, because we're not perfect. And this has been such a massive part of my journey, like having perfectionist tendencies.
Guilty.
Self-compassion is absolutely vital, because we're not going to do it perfect. And we may feel like we've shifted things and, taken our practice or ourselves up a notch where we're like, oh, I'm more peaceful. And but it's like, oh, but I've still got that inner voice that's, affecting my self-worth, or I'm still giving myself that negative message, or I'm still being really critical of myself. So it's just being consistent. Self-compassion, consistency, and letting go, absolutely vital, because this not being able to let go takes away our peace. And this is actually what is affecting humanity at large, not being able to let go. Because all the things that upset us, that we hold on to, that we replay over and over again, that just merges, builds, and it disrupts our peace. It takes away our peace.
Yeah, how do you feel about the state of humanity right now?
It's like, again, the bigger picture scenario, we live in the yin-yang world, right? So we live in a world, a dualistic world. Is that how you say it? Yin and yang is a universal law. So we can't have, there's up and down, there's front, there's back, there's day, there's night. Like, we can't argue the fact that we don't live in a yin-yang dualistic world. So obviously on the planet right now, there's a lot of harm and a lot of suffering. And at the same time, there's a lot of goodness. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of love. So we're in this soup, this stew of both. And this is like, when we talk about the collective and global and humanity, it truly is an inside job, starting with everyone. Even though like the message is of unity and we are all one, each person has to master their own field. And in doing that, that will ripple out and help and serve the collective.
I find that idea fascinating about the ripple out effect. And I've often heard people talk about spiritual pursuits as selfish. And then on the flip side, spiritual masters saying the most effective thing that you could actually do for the world is to prioritize your own awakening. And we've sung kirtan together, and you run these beautiful kirtans. And in one of the messages that I've heard you repeat there has been how the actual kirtan, the meditative singing, the chanting, the mantras, the coming together as community is having a healing effect on the world. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what that relationship is between people coming together in community and meditation and prayer, and then the broader collective.
So again, this is like one of the core teachings of my spiritual teacher, Dr. Master Shah. And he shares, create inner love, peace, and harmony. Then work towards creating love, peace, and harmony in your family, whatever your family looks like. Then work towards creating love, peace, and harmony in your community, your town, your city. Then work together towards creating love, peace, and harmony for your country. Then work towards creating love, peace, and harmony for Mother Earth, for all of humanity. So it's like, yeah, it can't really be perceived as selfish to do the inner work and work on yourself and to create more love, peace, and harmony inside of you. I don't feel that's a selfish act, because ultimately it's an act of service. Because we all know, like, the people that are radiating, being grounded and loving and compassionate and peaceful, they feel good to be around. Like, you kind of, like, you can feel it, right? So their field, like the sun shines light, and we're very far from the sun, but we can feel that light, right? We feel the light as warmth, and it's also an energy, right? It's the same for each of us. Like, if we can do the inner cultivation and really work on ourselves to be more loving and compassionate and peaceful, we're each like a sun, and we're vibrating that out. And it doesn't, I can vibrate that out to someone on the other side of the world. It might not be consciously me offering that, or them going, oh, I can feel that person in Australia, right? But it's something that's happening, you know, on like in the invisible realm. We might not be able to see it, but we can feel it. And that's really, really important, because I feel like what we see in the world is such a small of what actually is.
It's also fascinating because behind all of this, behind the podcast, there is, I get a very strong sense of what you're talking about is the resonance of it. And you use words like frequency to describe it, because it's a little bit like the vibes, you know, and you're just sensing it. When you're around people, there is that gut instinct, there is that vibe, there's your nervous system feeling it. And there's something extremely magnetic about this sort of conversation, about kirtan, about masters. When you meet masters, there's something, it's just magnetic. It pulls you towards them, and it brings a better version of yourself out.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important, what you're talking about there is being that best version of yourself around other people as much as you can and bringing as much light as you can to it is so critical. Because what I see now dominant in, I work in corporate scenarios, what I see dominant is a sort of nihilistic cynicism, like the truth is bad and life is suffering and life is hardship. And you just show up to work. You know, the company says one thing and does the other, and everyone knows it. And, you know, we have now got climate change problems and we're not going to make it. And there's a lot of bad news around. And there's not a lot of lightness. There's not a lot of humor. There's not a lot of real love and compassion on the far side of all of that. You know, seeing all of that and like taking all of that in, and yet still being bright and lively, I think is a phenomenal gift that anyone could bring to the world. And you create spaces where people can come in and access that. And I'm reading a number of the different modalities that you're interested in. I mean, you've such a breadth of different things that you do with people. I'd love to hear about those practices that bring us closer to that, and what's really big for you now, or what's been really huge for your journey.
Number one, being of service. That is the driving force. That's the mission. You know, when I heard the wisdom, the purpose of our physical life, the purpose of our life is to serve others, to help others become happier and healthier and more empowered and more full of light and love. That got my heart. I'm like, yes. So I'm so grateful, you know, because I feel like at a certain point when, you know, I was in my 20s and trying to work out my place in the world, you know, you can get quite insular and focused on yourself and, well, I'm going to do that because I like doing that. And then, you know, which is fine. You need a level of to cultivate yourself. But at the end of the day, what truly, you know, I think makes us tick is being of service to help others, offering kind service in whatever way, shape or form that is for you in your life. You know, we've got a mother who looks after her children, raises her children. That's her service. Or someone in the corporate world who's really standing for justice and equality. And, you know, it's not limited to different vocations and pathways in life. It's in everything and everyone. I think everyone can relate to the feeling inside your heart and your body when you help, when you support, when you show up and make a difference. Even if it's not with the intention, oh, I'm going to show up and change and make a difference. No. It's not to have expectations of that, but to give.
Yeah. I've struggled with this for a long time, the idea of service. And again, from a mind perspective, you start to go, well, where are all the areas I can serve? Should I go and go to a soup kitchen? Should I go and go to a charity? Should I go? And you have all these ideas about what service is. And that's also heavily wrapped up in, there's a Christian background of charity. And what I noticed in any of those things when I was doing those things, I was doing them because I felt like I should do them. But I think what you're talking about is a different form of service. It's almost like where your gifts, your interests, what lights your soul up meets a need in the community. And the service itself for you is an expression of your soul rather than, hey, every week I go and I help out at this. Not saying you shouldn't do that, but there's a feeling that comes with it that again is intuitive. Does that resonate with your understanding of when you say service?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's my experience. I feel lit up from my heart and soul, and using my gifts, my abilities and passions, to offer to others. But again, it's like for someone else, they may be very financially abundant and they may give to a lot of charities money. They might not give their time, but they might give money, and that's perfect. That's how they're meant to serve, Or, some people, they will go and volunteer a week, 1 day a week or something. And, if that's your capacity and how you can do it, even though it might not be, coming from your, like, the expression from your heart and soul, it's like, I think the thing is to offer service is to do it without expecting something in return. And I feel like there's a lot of people that go and serve at charities and stuff. They're not doing it to expect something in return. They may be doing it because they may think it makes them feel a bit better about themselves, or they may feel obliged that it's something they should be doing. But as long as, that's the point of service, to not expect something in return. Just do it from your heart without conditions.
Love it. So number one is, we've heard a few things today. Number one is seek to create inner peace inside yourself and ask your soul, in communication with your soul, on how would you do that? Like there is a relationship there, and commit to that. Practice cultivating that and letting go of the things that pull you away. The second thing we've heard about is service, which is just intentionally putting yourself in a position where you're giving without any expectation of return. What else has been transformative for you personally?
So when we come to like a practice, like daily rituals, that's really important. And I do that both as a self-transformation, cultivation process, but also because, my business revolves around, creating those containers for people as groups or individuals. So, as you know, because we've met through kirtan, which is chanting mantras, that's using sound power and sound vibration and positive messages through singing, through voice, is a big part of my practice. Like if you see me driving, I'm singing, chanting. I come from a very creative background, so that's what resonates with me. And so I work with a lot of healing arts, so chanting, singing. The modalities that I work with are connected with a beautiful calligraphy art. And we meditate with the calligraphies or move our bodies and trace them. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I love the mantra, because there's something about sitting and chanting mantra, particularly for me in a group, having experience of it, where you start to get a sense that this entire group is here supporting each other. I'd love to hear from someone like yourself who's delved so deeply into mantra. What do you think is actually happening in that environment, and what is the power of mantra?
So what is happening is heart coherence. And I'm not great with statistics, and like I know there's a lot of information out there about heart coherence and the power of that. The power of that to create positive change and shifts. So for me, that space of group chanting and community is about heart coherence. We're aligning our hearts together in a common cause and intention. And then sound, like mantras are sound vibrations. We can chant mantras that don't have a literal meaning, or we can chant mantras like in certain traditions that are honoring like a deity or a saint, or like a divine consciousness. And that's literally channeling like a really pure and high frequency through us, out through our mouth and into the collective field, like of the group, and then wider. So it's that heart coherence. Mantras are positive messages. Like we're not in there chanting messages that, like Dr. Emoto's experiments and scientific work with water. You haven't? Okay, I'm sure some of your listeners have. There's a lot of information online. Dr. Emoto, he did years and years and years of study on water molecules and how message affects water molecules. So he would have, and again, I don't know how he set up his experiments, but there would be water molecules and containers of water that were given the message or emotions of love, right? And he photographed and documented the shapes that the water crystals would make. And they're stunning, like so beautiful, like these amazing water crystal shapes from the water that was exposed to positive message, positive emotion, positive energy, positive consciousness. Then they did studies on water where they would put messages of hate or disconnection or disharmony through, like projecting that, right? And the water crystals, they were distorted and almost ugly, like completely incoherent. It's amazing. Yeah. So if we think about like the human body, what 85 to 90% water. So that's number one. What messages are we giving ourselves? Because we're feeding ourselves messages from within and from our environment all the time, right? So message is everything. And how we're creating our inner, like what kind of inner environment do we want? Do we want one that's coherent, in harmony, in peace, feeling of love and gratitude? Well, we've got to pay attention to what messages we're giving ourselves or consuming, absorbing, because any other messages that are hateful or harmful or disharmonious, that's having a massive effect on our environment. So it's the same when we come together and chant as a group. We're chanting like positive messages. They're prayers. They're intentions of peace and love and spreading it. And it's unified. So you can imagine what's happening like on a cellular level in our body, right? And then together, that energy that we're creating and that one consciousness that we're sharing, and just again, like the water, the stone in the water, the ripple effect, what that does. So that's why in the kirtans and with that practice of chanting, which is a form of yoga, it's called bhakti yoga, devotional chanting, or swa yoga, voice singing. And so it's such a potent transformational practice. And it's also a service. So I always say at the start of the kirtans, we're coming together as one here tonight to offer our service to the collective, to humanity, to Mother Earth, through chanting positive messages, through our hearts joining together as one, through this coherence, which is adding more love and kindness to the world. And it's like, again, it's like you got to let go of thinking about it and analyzing it, because that's limiting. Because it's like hard to believe with our human mind that 30 people or 60 people chanting some mantras could have such an amazing effect, not just on the space that we hold together, but, the collective globally. But it actually can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel that when I do kirtan, but I feel that now. I feel that now in this conversation, because I feel things very strongly, and I can feel the sense of love, like a warmness, like a warmth in your chest that spreads. And I think one of the most transformational things for me in my life was realizing that we all have an inner wellspring of love that we don't actually need anyone else to access. And actually, it's always been us. It's always been us who have been loving ourselves. We've used other people as stimulus for that love. And there's something about, you mentioned the word, like the bhakti yoga path. And so the bhakti path, in my limited understanding, is about devotion and it's kind of like loving surrender to what is, like a radical acceptance and radical compassion for all that is unfolding, and a high trust in the Tao, like a trust in the Tao, and say, I trust in the way things are unfolding, and I love everyone, love everything, love myself. And I'm very drawn to that path. I'd love to hear your experience on path and how you think about, or how you experience even this bhakti, the devotional path.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on it. I love to sing, and I love to sing with other people. And I've experienced myself, and I've witnessed again and again that this practice of bhakti, of devotional chanting, because we're chanting to serve and connect with one another, and we're chanting messages of peace and love. And it doesn't matter what you believe in, that's going to open your heart, right? This practice, it opens the heart, and you may believe in God, or you may believe in Mother Earth, or whatever that is. When the heart is open, you're this big receiver, right? And so it's helping us to connect to whatever, we're consciously or wanting or choosing to connect with. For me, following a Tao grandmaster and Tao teachings, the Tao is the source, the ultimate creator. I don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm completely melded. I'm one with the source. No, I have to practice that, because all of my human thinking and emotions and feelings, I'm still, working with. But I just always really feel the key is the heart, because as a human, the heart closes easily, right? And we've heard the onion metaphor, right? That the heart or the soul's like an onion with so many layers. Like, people really like going on a healing journey or really working on self-transformation and development, it can feel like, oh, I've peeled that layer back. Oh, I feel this freedom. I feel this greater connection to whatever that is, your soul or whatever you believe in. And then it's like you get to another point, I'm like, oh, that's come back. I thought I dealt with that. So, right? But it's like we've got to open the heart and keep opening the heart, because it's so easy for someone to say the most simple thing that is maybe like a critique or a judgment, and we protect ourselves and the heart closes. So heart opening, chanting, and bhakti is like such a potent practice to open the heart. Like, just using the voice alone and the resonance of how it moves through the body. And just like when we smile and laugh, our heart's opening. Like, it can be such like a simple practice to open our heart. Yeah.
It's simple, but it's definitely not easy.
No, not always easy. Yeah. And total compassion clause. Like, yeah.
You wrote something on Instagram which resonated with me, which was, I honor the heart that is open to endure, to radically accept, go through it, feel the pains, deal with the wounds, and chooses to love and forgive above all else. This is the power of you.
Wow. Yeah. Every experience and lesson we go through, no matter how much suffering we're in or joy, I feel like the lessons and why we're going through it is always rooted in our ability to love and forgive. And in times of suffering and pain, that's where we need to lean to. That's what we need to learn. okay, I'm feeling this. I'm in so much pain and suffering. I'm feeling so much pain and suffering. How can I love and forgive through this? What do I need to let go of? Who do I need to forgive? Do I need to forgive myself? How can I feel love? When I've been going through hardships and challenges, one message I got really, really strongly many years ago was, oh, I've got to love the pain. Because when we're in pain and suffering, it's trying to push us to separate, to disengage. But if we can do the opposite and connect and engage and love it, game changer. Yeah. And again, not easy. I mean, we're looking at people on this planet in awful, 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 extreme suffering and conditions. So for me to be saying this to them, may not be the compassionate answer, but we're blessed where we are, and whatever challenges we have in our lives, don't disconnect with it. Connect with it. We're meant to learn. There's a reason for everything we experience. So be curious. And we have to open the heart to find that deep capacity that is innately within us to love and to forgive. Could be others, or it could be ourselves, or both.
Beautifully said. One of the areas where this is particularly challenging is in the area of family.
Relationships
In general. And there's an initial ability to achieve this inner peace and love sitting by yourself in meditation or in kirtan. But then in kirtan, you open your eyes and you walk into the back and someone's taken the last the last brownie.
That was me last month, just by the way.
And when we go into these family situations, it's like all of our triggers, all of our hot buttons are right up there, and they're right. And often the ones that we fight with the ones who we love the most, and we find those the hardest to forgive. And I'm sure you've worked with a lot of people who have, and I'm sure in your own experience, have had to do a lot of work in this area.
Yes.
What do you help people work through when it comes to family and this idea of opening to love and forgiveness there?
Yeah, not always easy for people. And I always say #compassion clause, because it's not. Some people have really experienced a lot of pain and suffering because of family members and relationships and dysfunction. But forgiveness and love is setting yourself free. We can't change someone else, but how do we set ourselves free? It's having the capacity and the depth and the curiosity and the courage to connect and bring this out through our thoughts, our speech, our actions, our motives, our intentions. Family, particularly close family members, again, there's no coincidence why we're in the families that we have. They're our biggest teachers. I'm sure you've heard that before. People listening have heard that before. Our family members, our partners, they're our biggest teachers because they're closest to us to reflect. The trigger, they could be out of, they might be saying or doing the wrong thing, and it's triggering something in us because there's a mirror, there's a reflection. My teacher always says, are you pointing the finger at someone? How many fingers are pointing back at you? Right? And again, it's not to encourage bad behavior if someone, is really inflicting domestic violence or whatever. But, there's just a whole bigger perspective. And, this can be tricky territory to navigate with people that have suffered a lot of abuse and trauma in their life. So it's, again, I'm growing as a therapist and a healer in the way that I express this and communicate and help clients as well. The bigger perspective is what we experience, particularly in our relationships, because life is relationships. We have a relationship with everything. What we experience in relationships is usually because of what we've done or our ancestors have done to that same soul in past lifetimes. So it's like we've got a ball and we keep throwing it back and forth to each other. So if we've come into this lifetime and we've had a really abusive parent, and have suffered, it's like the bigger picture, and this is where I do Akashic record readings for people, which shares past lifetime information. It's always around relationships a lot of the time. In a past lifetime, you probably, or your ancestors could have treated that same person the same way. And it's like you're just throwing the ball back and forth. So that aspect of letting go, dropping the knife, it's like it's up. If you've had these horrible experiences in your life and you truly want to heal and be free, we've got to drop the knife and find a way. There's lots of ways to be able to forgive. And again, this may not transform the other person. It may not transform your relationship, right then and there. But this is actually gearing towards the practice that I'd like to offer at the end of our interview. I've had one of my spiritual mother teachers and mentors, she shares powerfully on this because she grew up being abused. And she is just the biggest example and role model that I'm so grateful to have had, that she's forgiven the perpetrators. It doesn't have a hold. It's not controlling her life and what she makes of her life now. She's being able to forgive, and she's been able to have faith in that bigger perspective of awareness, consciousness, understanding that it's happened to her for a reason, and she's grateful to learn from it and grateful for the opportunity to pay off, in a way, the spiritual debt that exists between the two souls having the human experience.
Yeah, it's an enormous perspective when you first learn about it, and it seems almost fantastical to people, like a fantasy. This whole idea of soul, past lives, and it's a lot for people to wrap their heads. It's certainly a lot for me when I first uncovered it, to be like, oh, science can't prove that. That's not really real. I shared at the start of the podcast, people Googling, is the soul even real?
Yeah.
And you go from, is the soul real, to who you really are, what you really are, is a soul who's gone through multiple lifetimes, collecting karma, collecting memory, and making agreements with other souls to come into lifetimes to work that off.
Yeah.
And in that sense, we're all guiding each other home. And when you start to experience into that reality, it lifts the whole thing, and there's a massive freedom in it. But my experience has been that I've had to experience some of those things so I could truly start to believe it. And actually, the point you made earlier about asking to experience, about recognizing that you have agency, there's a relationship that you can connect, where you can actually say, show me the things that I'm here to learn. Show me what I'm here to let go of. You can go in meditation and invite the presence of your ancestors into that meditation and say, show me what it is that I'm here to learn. And you start to really you start to notice how you're experiencing the things that they experienced. And so that whole area of self-worth being conditional, for me, is a huge ancestral wound, because my ancestors grew up in a farming community that was very much on the land, and your utility as an individual was in your capacity to do work. Like literally, there was a son born in particular, it was like, well, is he a good worker? You know, how good is he at work, and is he any use? You know, like, could you get any work out of him? And the implicit thing there is that until this person is able to contribute by work, their reliability. And so the presence here alone is not enough. And so you're then working off. And so for me, you talk about rituals. Every morning I wake up into a sense of lack. I wake up into a sense of poverty, of scarcity. And then immediately the first thoughts that come into my awareness are, what are all of the things that I need to do today in order to deserve to be here? And so connecting into my father and his granddad and seeing how that's been perpetuated down the line and starting to say, well, actually, I'm here to heal that. I'm sort of putting a line in the sand, and I'm standing here and I'm saying, this ends with me. I don't want to pass this on. And to take on that seeming big task is actually one of the most meaningful things in my life. And so I'd love to hear about this whole soul journey, past life. You'd let go, and even if it's just what your intuitive sense is to it, what you've heard, anything at all in this space. Nothing is off barriers in this podcast. That's one of the rules of this podcast, is nothing is off limits.
I want to make it relatable as well, though.
Yes, but yeah.
Okay, so what's the question?
The question is, what is your experience, knowledge around past lives? You mentioned you're doing Akashic readings.
Yes.
How did you come to all of this? What have you learned about it, and what would you like to share to people that would be useful for them?
For me, again, growing up in a Christian family where reincarnation's not really taught or believed, and then, later in my 20s starting to read some books, like one of the first book I ever read that I was like, it felt like, because it's like what feels like truth in your heart, right? So I'm just speaking what feels like truth in my heart. It may not be right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's the truth in my heart.
Same.
So I believe our soul reincarnates, and we have lots, maybe hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of lifetimes in human form on Mother Earth. It's our soul journey. We keep reincarnating, and we have to heal and transform the negative information that we accumulate in our soul from our past life service. And, that's the journey. Transform the negative information, accumulate more or create more positive information through our kind and loving service. And then that's our journey, the soul journey to keep ascending. If we so when I do Akashic readings with people, it's like what I shared before, our soul's like this warehouse, like this data bank of information from everything we've spoken, thought, offered, created in all of our lifetimes. And the Akashic records, again, this is very much a spiritual belief. It's like your book of life, that everything's like recorded in your book of life, right? And so, there's people that have the ability to directly, access the book of life. And, I went through years of training to train and certify spiritually for this, because it's a responsibility to access someone's book of life and share information. It has to be done, respectfully, and to create love, peace, and harmony, not to disempower. But it's like, I don't know where I'm going, but if someone's having a particular issue or challenge and it just doesn't make sense to them why, it's like this keeps happening, this cycle, or I have a really challenging relationship with my father and it's like, is it ever going to improve? Why? Why is it like this? Well, we can access your soul's information, your Akashic record book, and pull out lifetimes where the soul of your father and you have been in different relationships. Like you might have been the father and he might have been the son. It's quite likely. And what's happened? Like what's been the significant things that have happened that's had an effect on you that your soul still carries that needs to be healed and let go of. And, you know, these things on a soul level can get very embedded in our subconscious. Like you were sharing, you know, with your ancestors in this lifetime, that the scarcity and the worth comes from being useful and being able to work, right? That's so embedded in the subconscious, right? There's the soul messages there, but it can get really stuck in these different layers. You know, we are a soul, a heart, a consciousness, and the energy and the matter makes our physical body. Again, just to bring one more aspect of that, because when I do readings for people, I'm like, okay, because this could quite easily blow your mind, right? Because our human brain and thinking is limited, right? Like we've got this one lifetime. So what if you've incarnated like 9,000 lifetimes? You've got ancestors from all of those lifetimes. And we take on our ancestors' beliefs. We take on their actions, right? We can take, like, that's all entangled with us. So it's so vast. And I share this with people because particularly for those really wanting to do the self-development and transformation, and they feel like they've gotten to a certain level and then it's like, oh, the trigger's still there, or why haven't I healed my relationship with my father? I've really forgiven, I've let go, it's like there's a lot of entanglements, so keep going.
Yeah. And so you can sit with someone and see into and get a download essentially of what has happened to them or where have they been blocked.
Yeah. And it's to help with perspective because we can be so stuck in just what we see, or experience. It's to help bring a bigger, broader perspective of, well, this is what's happened and that's why you're experiencing this now. And that can bring peace because you're like, oh, I feel that. It makes sense. I might not be able to consciously remember it.
I've had experiences recently with past life soul regressions where I have had violent interactions with my modern day current father, and to start to feel into those and see how much anger, like how much hatred was there, and also then how much fear was there, has been extremely healing. Because my experience has been with any of these deeper wounds or these you experience them as very strong emotions, usually fear or anger. So like a go away or a go towards response. And what I've found is that there's quite a bit of staying with the anger or staying with the fear and allowing it to be there and holding it in loving kindness, holding it in loving compassion, and allowing it, like not indulging it so that you're kind of generating more of it and just you're justifying all your actions, or not expressing in a way that you're beating a pillow or all of that, or not suppressing it either so that your mind is coming in and kind of just clamping it down. There's this middle path of just holding it in loving kindness as it starts to move, and it starts to teach you some lessons. But underneath it, there comes this like bittersweet sadness that rises up, and there's this grief that's underneath it when you stay with it for long enough. And I've had that experience many times. It just continues to come, like this anger, then like when the anger kind of burns out, then there's there's this grief and this sobbing experience. And I had done a lot of that work on this lifetime.
Yeah.
And then once I started to access past lifetimes for that same purpose, I started to get the same experience, but transmitted through a past lifetime rather than through this lifetime. And I saw it all as just part of that healing in the same way. It's like time didn't really exist. It was all connected by that sensation.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about your thoughts on that experience and the experiences that your clients have in those when you do these readings.
I'll share personally, actually, because my husband and I have been together for a long time. We met in 1998. So yeah, we've had, and we had such like a beautiful connection. Like you just know, like it was like love. And as soon as we met, like, because my spiritual channels were open, and everyone's are to a degree. I just knew when I met him, I actually heard that's the man you're going to marry. So I was like, okay, well, I've met my life partner when I was 21. And, so you would think, oh, you've met your soulmate, your life partner, all rosy. No, we've had some really difficult, as much as our relationship has been such a blessing and just so much abundance and alignment, we've been through moments where we've almost separated. And anger and resentment and like all this stuff that can be underneath the surface and expressing in all the wrong ways, right? We got to a point through a really difficult time, and I was just like, just going, help. Because sometimes we don't have all the answers a lot of the time. And so because I like to really use my spiritual channels, I just said, God, can you please show me what I've done to my husband in past lifetimes, or what he's done to me, which is creating the way we're treating each other now. And I was shown just flashes of images of different lifetimes where we had really harmed one another, like awful things to one another. And it totally changed my perspective then. And I was able to, like, in a way, surrender. Why are you treating me like that? Why are you saying that? You're making me feel like this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, we've both just really hurt each other, and we've come back and we're living out, communicating and expressing the pain that we're still holding. And our experience now is a gift to be able to recognize it and to forgive each other. Yeah.
If I could give one gift to everyone on the planet, it would be that perspective.
Yeah.
Because with a background in psychology, you soon realize that every person who you're meeting from in a psychological perspective is playing out some sort of deeper, conditioned way of being, and it's not really theirs. But yet they're suffering for it, and they're identifying as it. I think one of the saddest situations about being human is how personally we take and how personally we hold all that hurt, and we'll actually defend our reactions to the death. Like, we'll defend those things. It's like, growing up in an environment where let's say some people were very judgmental, right? People judgmental of each other, and then you learn to be a good judge of people, and you're judging people, and then someone calls you out for being judgmental, and like, you will defend yourself to the death. You know what I mean? How you're right and all these sort of things. Whereas actually, when you step back and you look at it, you go, that wasn't even mine in the first. That's not who I am. Like, who I am is so much greater and bigger. And when I'm in meditation, when I'm doing kirtan, or like when I connect to that, all of these little things that are sort of hanging off me, like all these little wounds, they seem so inconsequential, and some of them start to let go. But yet we just double down on them, and we hold them tighter, and we're like, this, and then you said this and I said that, and that really hurt me and really hurt you. And it's like, no, I was really right in that argument. Everything is just, the moment you start to let that go and just speak honestly and go, I actually said that because I wanted to hurt you.
Yeah.
I really did. Like when you said that to me, it triggered me and it made me feel terrible about myself, because I was always judged growing up for if I got something wrong, and then I felt like you were trying to make me feel wrong. And just saying that to your partner and getting to that level of radical emotional honesty is so hard, but so freeing in the long term.
Yeah, not always easy. It requires humility to be able to honestly look at ourselves and what we're doing and what we're projecting.
And so you're working with people in this space of helping them to heal and grow along their soul's journey. You're offering many different ways to help that. And I was fascinated to come across on one of your offerings, this Tao calligraphy light wall. And I'm interested in diving more into your relationship with the Tao and the master, and how you came to that tradition and what called you to it, and the different modalities that tradition actually can offer someone to help them on this beautiful journey we're on.
I fell into the Tao, which is a good place to fall. I connected with my spiritual teacher I was going to a yoga studio, and there was an acupuncturist there who had a clinic, and I went to get some acupuncture for something and had like a whole spiritual awakening in the process, because we had a deep soul connection and it brought up all these memories, right? So then that just started me on a path that I was not seeking or looking for at all. Because this acupuncturist, who was a teacher of now my teacher, was teaching healing meditations and like how to learn about universal laws and principles and how that governs your life, and how you can help yourself and transform and heal. And at the time when I first started learning this, I'm like, I remember being on the first Tao retreat with Master Sha, and it was a webcast, and I was heavily pregnant with my second child, and a lot of because he's Chinese of origin, so there'd be a lot of like Mandarin words, and I was sitting there and I could not understand a thing, and I'm like, why do I need this Tao stuff? Like, I am perfectly happy in my life. I am all good. I don't need to heal anything. But there was just this inner connection that, something was really pushing me from within to learn more and be open. And so since then, I've learned and experienced there's actually a lot to heal and transform in my life, because I'm not perfect.
And how does the Taoist tradition articulate that? For people who've grown up in, let's say, a Christian background or Hindu, there are deities, there are forces, there are relationships, and how does the Taoist tradition describe this reality that we're in?
Yeah, so Master Sha doesn't teach traditional Tao, because I've got friends that have studied with Taoist masters, and when they connect with what I do, they're like, oh, it's like nothing. What are you talking about? So I think I said at the start of our interview that the Tao is a name given to the source. There was a Chinese wise man called Lao Tzu who wrote the Tao Te Ching. It's like a philosophy book about the way, follow nature's way. This is the natural way. And so that's what the Tao is, how I'm taught. And the Tao is that ultimate source, that ultimate soul that creates everyone and everything. We all come from the same source. And again, some people may call that source God or Shiva or whatever you believe in. And so the Tao is also the universal laws and principles, the natural laws and principles that govern our life, regardless of what our opinion or perspective is, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what our opinion and perspective is. The natural law of yin and yang exists in our reality, right? We can't deny that, right? Does anyone want to try and argue that with me right now? And there's other, there's 5 elements law, there's just these principles, right? One of the laws is offer some kind service, receive blessings. Offer more service, receive more blessings. Offer unlimited, unconditional service, receive unlimited, unconditional support, blessings in your life, right? And then there's the opposite. Offer some unpleasant service, receive lessons. Offer more unpleasant service, receive bigger lessons. Offer massive unpleasant service and receive serious, serious lessons. So this is like a karma law, and it governs our life, regardless of if we believe in karma or not. It governs our life. And so for me, studying the Tao and with my Tao teacher is just understanding these principles of life, of the way, and then where do I fit in with that? It's I feel like it's a big Pandora's box of which way to go. But I feel being connected to the teacher I am, his focus is on helping humanity heal and being of unconditional service. So that's where I'll come back to, because that's what I do for my day job, right? I'm a trained master teacher practitioner with Master Shah's Tao Academy, and I teach people self-healing and transformation, accessing all different kinds of techniques, meditation and healing arts techniques and practices. And and that's how we can become happier and healthier and more empowered and full of love and light, is by transforming the negative messages that are affecting us and that we may be projecting to others.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you start to study and experience these inner modalities. And as you described, these laws that govern our reality that are not obvious. They're invisible, subtle things, because we've been very hyper trained to pay attention to external material laws, like the law of gravity. When things fall, we go, yeah, I accept that. But we wouldn't accept traditionally the idea that if you hold a bodily sensation in an awareness of loving kindness, that it will transform and transmute and heal. But yet when you do any sort of healing practice and have enough experience there, you know that that's a law, the same way as the law of gravity is there. And so there's this whole exploration into the inner laws that govern this invisible world, and there's subtleties to them. And I think it's a really difficult space, because there's a lot of confirmation bias that comes along with that. People are receiving messages all the time, and then they start to see messages in every single thing, and every number being related to this number, and the synchronicities there. And so it can be really hard to navigate that space. I think that's where a teacher comes in, and a modality and a method that has been handed down for thousands of years and tested is so important, because we do have this vibrant spiritual imagination which is powerful and allows us to intuit things and come up with creative ways of thinking about our problems and healing ourselves. That's also rife for your ego to grab it, or for you to, and so how have you navigated that space, particularly working with people who have been grown up in the Western world, and yourself coming to those more subtle inner understandings?
Da Dao Zhe Jian. Pardon my pronunciation. The big way is extremely simple. That resonates with me. The big way is extremely simple. Because as a human and with our mind, we gravitate towards complicated. And in this day and age where we are overexposed, there's so much information, we have access to everything, right? So it's like an overexposure. How I guide my clients is to come back to Da Dao Zhe Jian, the big way is extremely simple. We don't need complicated. And the Tao teaching is, you are Tao. You're the source. I'm Tao. I'm the source. That's like innately what our soul is. And the qualities of the Tao, the source in each of us, is unconditional love, forgiveness, compassion, light, humility, harmony, flourishing, gratitude, service, and enlightenment. So these are core to my teacher's teachings. It's like everything he does, whether it's focused on healing or how you're serving, is to strip away, help to shed the layers, the interferences, the karmas, however we want to describe or identify with them, so that our true nature, which is Tao, can shine and be present here on earth, because it's really needed.
It's certainly been the case for me that pain has been the catalyst for growth. Suffering has been the thing that has created the most curiosity and humility and recognition that I don't know it all, and that there is bigger truths to be grasped and there's work to be done. And it's the desire to be free of the suffering and the pain that has facilitated the largest growth. So it seems like to me that pain is one of the tools that Tao has. And as we reflect on our own lives, it's often been the best teacher. I think it's about getting better and better at trying to learn before the pain gets turned up so high that you can't escape it. And I think that's one of the things that I've noticed in my own journey, is that I'm more and more sensitive to pain and to suffering, and I'm less tolerance. There's a lot of my life I spent with the pain and the suffering of not really speaking what was true for me. And like, it seems safe, it seems like the easy way out, but actually it's so claustrophobic, and it's devastating to your soul, because the opportunity cost of all the things that you're not doing and the ways you're being is so massive. And so starting to have the bravery to do that, and to have the saying, I'm actually just not here to mess around anymore. I'm not here to please you. I'm not here to clamp myself down anymore. And so, yeah, I think pain is something that we should listen to, very much so. What does enlightenment mean to you?
I don't know. I can give you an answer.
Yeah.
What I realized, what enlightenment is it's the healing journey. It's letting go, transforming that pain and all that's associated and all that's backing it up. That's what enlightenment, because when like the pain and the suffering that us as humans experience and create and go through, that's like a heaviness. It's like a negative energy. And the more we can transform that, and there's so many ways to transform that, then the lighter we become. Yeah.
It's like that lightness on the far side of the darkness.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like to think of it as enlightening.
Yeah. Or filling with light, or bringing out more of your light, because we are light.
Yeah. And that's actually very measurable and tangible. Like, if you look back on it 5 years ago, how was I? Like, how was I being? Versus now, how am I being every day? I think one of the lessons that I was taught early on in my journey was that in order to progress, really, it's about putting how you're being at the top of your priority list. Because what we tend to do is we say, I want to have these things. We're taught to have certain things. And so you go, well, if I have to have those things, then I'm forced to do all of these activities that will equal having those things. So if I want to have a house with a mortgage paid off, I want to have a stable job, if I want to have certain material possessions, if I want to have certain secure relationships that benefit me and allow me to grow financially, then I've got to do all these things. So I've got to go to these events. I've got to save money in this way. I've got to work in this particular job. I've got to take that promotion. I've got to really aim myself in all of those directions. And then as a result of that, what falls out the bottom of that is how I'm being. Because you're sacrificing everything, and then how you're being becomes the last thing. So you're doing all those things, you're trying to juggle all those balls, and you're stressed and you're upset and you're burnt out and you're fighting with people and you're doing, but you have to do it because you have those things here. And what I was taught was just flip that completely and go, how do I want to be? Therefore, what do I do? And then as a result, then I have. And it's a completely different way of organizing your life. And it brings up so much to be let go of. But there's nothing more important. Like, your material possessions are not more important than how you'll be. Radical.
Yeah, and flipping it is like a good, not analogy, but thing to do. Like, quite often when I've been stuck or clients are really stuck, it's like, okay, just do the opposite. Sometimes that's the only advice.
Opposite.
It's like, oh, do the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Well, I think before you'd brought up like one of the modalities that I work with, which is called Tao Calligraphy Light Wall. I guess I'd love to share a little bit more about that.
Would love to hear it.
So that's one of the modalities that I'm trained in as a healing and transformational technology. And like I was referring to before, how the sun, like if the sun's in the sky shining, we feel the light on our skin or feel its energy. Master Sha's created these Tao calligraphies, which is a form of like Chinese calligraphy writing, but he's transformed it into one brushstroke. So he'll write a positive message like greatest love, which is unconditional love. And that's a healing message and frequency in itself. And he because he's a healer, he'll like connect with that ultimate soul, the source soul, which doesn't have distinction and is that force of unconditional love without the human stuff, right? He'll literally connect that into the calligraphy. And the calligraphy is like this object that we can see and touch, but he's connecting the Tao, which you can't see or touch, that field, that vibration and that frequency to the calligraphy. So the calligraphy is like a sun. It's like a portal that radiates that spiritual energy, that light. So there's an ancient Tao breathing practice called Shi Qing Hu Zhuo, which means, Shi Qing means breathe in, Hu Zhuo, breathe out, right? So we do this all the time without thinking about it. This is a very intentional breathing practice where we connect to a source field which doesn't have the blockages or the interferences, and we breathe that positive message, that positive frequency information in to wherever we're focusing. It could be a part of our body or a relationship. And so we're breathing in. It's like the Star Wars movies, the Force, right? There's the good force in the back. So we're breathing in the good force field. And as we breathe in the good force, it's like naturally, as we breathe out, the negative information, the blockages leave. We can breathe those out. So yeah, this practice with the calligraphy, I know it sounds a little bit... Every time I work with clients with this calligraphy light wall, so it's like we take a shower to wash our skin, right? Hopefully we do that a few times a week, right? For hygiene, right? This is our physical hygiene. We take a shower to wash ourselves, to clean our skin, our body. On a soul level, for our spiritual body, light is the means of washing and cleaning. Healing is light. breathe in, wash ourselves with light to clean the blockages, the negative information and messages.
And so light in this context is a higher frequency of consciousness.
Yeah, it contains consciousness, energy. Yeah, it's like we're talking spiritual light. Obviously, there's sunlight, there's moonlight, there's like the light of the universe. We have lights. This is a spiritual light. Yeah, one that we may not necessarily see with our human eyes. This is the realm I work in, the realm where you're not seeing with your human eyes.
And this is because this is the part where I'm talking about the subtleties of the relationships that you're working with there, because it's happening on that energetic level.
Subtle body.
Subtle body.
Yeah.
And when you work with someone, for example, in a coaching or a psychotherapy or a healing modality, what you start to learn is that there is this energetic relationship that's happening. So you're saying the words, you're doing these techniques, but there's something else going on deeper as well. And like we're communicating on this level. And so, although it sounds woo.
Yeah, I understand.
Completely. When you experience it and when you have started to tune up your inner sensitivities to start to notice these things, it's almost more real. Because when you sit with someone in kirtan and you start to sing, there's an energetic frequency that you tap into where there's states that you wouldn't be able to achieve on your own, like states of love, joy, there's like sweet sadness, compassion. And you're being moved through these states. And there's things happening on an energetic level. And then when the music stops and you get up and then you start to talk to people on the human level, there might be parts of that still there, but it's not the same. And so you start to realize there's something else going on here. And so what you're doing is you're directly tapping into that and you're working intentionally.
Yeah, it's intentionally tapping the source because anyone can connect to the source. It's part of us and it's like a parent, right? So anyone, we can say hello. Hello, source, I love you. You are me, I am you. But we have these interferences, layers, right, that could be blocking a really potent, pure connection, right? And that's why these modalities are here to help delayer, clear the interference. And I also like to think about it. It's right, we can connect with anything at any point, right? We connect with what food or coffee we want to put into our body. So I like to think of it each day as, what am I feeding myself as far as messages, frequency, energy, beliefs, and what am I helping to facilitate for clients? And so day to day, my diet and ingredients for life is, when I'm on the ball, focusing on how can I feed myself and nourish my soul, which is then directing my heart, consciousness, body, and life. What is the food that we need? It's love. It's forgiveness. It's compassion. It's all of those qualities because they're the highest frequency, right? So if we go and eat something healthy, that's great. That's really serving our body. Eating something really nourishing and healthy for our body is a positive message we can physically eat. But we're not just a physical body. And if the soul's at the very epicenter of us as a human being, what are we choosing to feed ourselves that's going to have the greatest impact and benefit on us and others? So I really like to think of it about, what do I choose to connect with and what do I choose to feed myself? Yeah. And that's how I serve my clients in that same way.
It's like living an examined life. This is what it means to live consciously and looking at the inputs you're putting in and how that affects all the different layers of you. What have you noticed about the relationship between this soul body, this soul work, and then the physical? Like around health and healing and illnesses? And
they're not separate. So basically, because our soul's this data bank, this warehouse of information, it's feeding information, through the layers of our being, our heart, our consciousness, and our body into our life. So there's messages there that all of a sudden manifest as a sickness or a health condition. Or there's messages on a soul level that create that disharmony and challenges in a relationship. So it starts at the soul level, and that's the relationship. Like the soul, the spiritual body is directing or influencing the physical body or our physical reality. So that's why I work on the layer of the soul, because it's like heal the soul level, the spiritual body first, and then that directly flows to the other aspects of our life.
And have you had many experiences with clients or with yourself on the focusing on that level, then healing things in the physical that they had been trying to heal for years?
Yeah, sometimes, again, there's not a linear time for how long like healing and transformation works. For me, I work with a lot of clients that have a lot of deep emotional trauma and pain. And a lot of the time it's also connecting with that inner child, the voice of that inner child and the wounds that are there. So what I notice working in this way with clients, and especially a lot on the emotional body and traumas and wounds, is when we get to the end of sessions, they feel more peace because there's been stuff let go of. And like clients with like physical conditions, that can take, it depends how long they've had the condition for. Like if someone's had a really chronic condition for a long time, there's going to be, recommendations that I make for them, like self-healing practices that they do along with like tapping the source modalities to help them heal, help themselves heal. It really depends on the quality and the layers of the information they're working on transforming, right? Like one time I had a compacted wisdom tooth, like it's growing sideways. I've still got it actually into my back molar. And we work with transmitting Tao light into that area. And I was in a lot of pain and discomfort. And my dentist was like, you've got to get the wisdom teeth out. And so I was like, yeah. And this Tao light with a new message got transmitted into this, and the pain went instantly. Like that was the only time I had like a really instant experience. Other things have taken a little bit longer, and I've witnessed with clients, again, there's no linear time. Everyone's journey is different. And one important thing is, like, I could be working with a client, helping them to open, to feed themselves, to receive, to absorb this positive information, a new kind of message and frequency into their soul, heart, mind, and body. And then they'll go away and just go into the patterns, right? Where we can kind of just leak it out. So it's a big game.
Yeah, it is a big game.
Yeah.
And my experience of it is when you start to ask for that healing, you then start to receive the experiences that will surface the pain.
Yeah.
And that can be quite confronting if you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And you don't have a tool to actually work with it. So learning how to sit with and heal those bodily sensations and just listen and access that inner loving awareness that you can shine that light onto it is such an important practice to get down yourself, like to have in your toolbox, like literally like the same way as you would, have any sort of tool around mindset or any sort of habit. It's like changing how you habitually deal with sensations that come up is just such an important thing to have, because if you ask for these things, they will come. Like the power of your intentions. I want to really get to the bottom of why I've had this, this acid reflux for my whole life. It's like, well, then you better be ready to face those things, because they're coming for you. It's like all the men in my family had bad stomachs. It's like, or I've had a teacher and a friend who had incurable colitis and only was able to heal it through ancestral work back in his mother's line. And it took him, like, it was weeks and weeks and weeks and of learning. And he had to go through, and he had experiences going back to with his grandparents and their grandparents, and like helping them express stuff that was unexpressed, and it all coming up in the body. And so it is this sort of not a linear process by any means. It's like invite it and it will come, and then you're like, right, strap in, I'm gonna see this through. And if you stop and you go away from it, if you try to, then you can leave it incomplete.
Yeah. And working on like the information that's there in the spiritual body. I also am a big believer of helping yourself like behaviorally as well. Because we can do like deep spiritual body healing work, but then we've got the subconscious and conscious mind and the habits and our behaviors that can kind of push us back. Yeah. I think you've got to there's got to be a lot of courage, commitment, and consistency to go down this path of the deeper spiritual healing work. But at the same time, I like to make it really light and fun, because everyone's got suffering or pain or, challenges in their life in one way or another. But I like to connect to the things that can help us shed and open our hearts and transform in a really safe way, not explosive, and that are fun. Like, that's why I guess I resonate and love offering kirtan, because you shared your experience in the kirtan of like crying, and like I feel that and witness that all the time, and we're doing it in the most beautiful way, because when we're working, I keep coming back to love and forgiveness. They're the pillars.
Yeah, you're right. It's to not take the whole thing so serious.
No,
and be like,
exactly.
this is really hard work, and I have so much trauma, and there's all of this. That's very tempting.
Yeah,
it's very tempting.
Yeah,
I love it. You had said you were going to offer a meditation for people to start to experience some of this stuff for themselves, and I'd love to do that now if that's something you're still open to sharing.
Can I lead with a story?
Oh, absolutely.
Because this will help you relate to it like on an everyday level. Because the practice I'm going to lead is a universal soul level forgiveness meditation. And the first time I learnt this practice and like practiced it in a group, I was like bawling my tears. And then the next day I felt lighter in my body. It was amazing. So I had a real tangible experience, but you might not. But I just wanted to share this one story that happened only the other day. So I was in my closest city to where I live, because I live really remote. And my daughter was with her best friend. They had to buy some T-shirts for a performance at school the next day. So they had to find particular colored T-shirts. So they'd gone off. They were looking around different shops, and then they messaged me saying, meet me back at this shop because you can come and buy it for us. So I got to the shop before them. And then all of a sudden I hear, like I'm just wandering, browsing the shop, waiting for them. And I hear all of a sudden this shop assistant just go like attacking. And I turn around and she's like attacking my daughter and her best friend. Like they basically walked into the shop and she said, "You've come back to return the things you stole." And she was viciously attacking them. And like when we've all had experiences like that, and it just, it's just painful in the heart. And I just was like in a bit of a shock. And I was just reading the situation, because the shop assistant was obviously very upset, because you would be if you've had things taken from the shop. And then my daughter and her best friend were like just in absolute shock, not knowing how to react. And I'm trying to read them going, have I done something wrong? But I know it would be very out of character. So I didn't say anything. And so then the shop assistant noticed that I was with them and we kind of went to grab their tops and come back to buy them.
Oh.
And the shop assistant said, I'm sorry, girls, but I'm just really upset because blah, blah, blah. We found tags in the change room and you were in there and blah, blah, blah. And I just turned to her and I said, I'm really grateful that you're saying sorry because you really needed to do that because how you treated them was really inappropriate. And then she kept pressing them because there was a third friend with them and she was trying to get the third friends to. And I said, not appropriate. You're accusing them of something they didn't do, so you need to drop it. And I said, I understand you're upset because you've had something stolen, but you can't you can't treat these girls like that. Anyway, so we left and I was driving home, and when we're driving, it's lots of times to so this is one of these situations where you just play it over, and it's not just playing over in your head, it's playing over in your heart and it's playing over in your body. And I was wanting to keep connecting to that story, right? Even though the attack wasn't to me directly, I'm the mother, I'm a wolf mother, like and I wasn't angry at this person, but I was playing it over, wanting to get angry that she treated my daughter like that. And I started having these thoughts. I'm going to write to the national customer service for this company and put in a complaint. Like I was wanting to go into the story. This is our fighting nature. We have a fighting nature, right? And I was so badly I was like rehashing what she said and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going to write. And then all of a sudden I was like, who are you? What are you doing? You need to forgive her. You need to right now connect with her soul and say, I forgive you for how you just treated my daughter. And I understand they've just had this experience and we've all had this experience together because there was some reason spiritually underneath it. You know, nothing's a coincidence. So I said, I'm grateful that I can now offer you my forgiveness and also ask for your forgiveness. Whatever's transpired in the past between our souls or our ancestors, I ask for your forgiveness because there's no coincidence. We've had this really heightened experience with one another. And when I connected with her soul and I offered my forgiveness and asked for forgiveness, the heart let it go. Because if we can't let it go in the heart, it burns, it churns, it manifests, it affects our thinking, it affects our perspective, it affects our body. And as human beings, our hearts are carrying a lot of negativity and pollution. Regardless of where we're at, you know, it's truth because there's been so much that we haven't let go of or even recognize that we need to let go of. And this is where being connected to the higher, like to a bigger picture perspective, it's not to bypass suffering and terrible things that are happening on this earth, but it's to help us anchor in the messages that love and forgiveness are the solutions, right? And we have to practice that in our hearts first. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And there might be anger there that needs to be worked through. There might be fear there. There might be sadness there. But ultimately it's, what do I need to do to get to that place of forgiveness and forgive myself so that I can forgive them and forgive all of our humanness and our imperfections. And it's that unconditional compassion, that unconditional loving force that is our ally, and just reaching out, as you said so beautifully, on the soul level.
Yeah.
Because I think I, for a long time, was of the perspective that the only way to fix something was to endlessly have these conversations with people. And it wasn't until I was shown that you can actually go in on the soul level, and when you're dropped in, invite the presence of that person in there and seek to understand and feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And love that and forgive it and let it go, once you start to operate on that level and do that work, it creates the space on the physical for change to happen. Because I think the truth is we never actually change another person.
No.
That's not our job, actually. That's the Tao's job. And it's said, I think, in the Bhagavad Gita, is like, when you interfere in that, you're working against me. And so I would love to hear you share that, a meditation where we could drop in and experience that space. It would be beautiful.
Absolutely. And it's not a one-time thing as well. Like that story and what happened, it did try to come back up in my heart. I'm like, okay, no, I'll just forgive her again.
Repetition. Reps in the
Oh, my story. I keep wanting to attach to that.
Yeah, I definitely want a magic solution. I want to I just feel this once and it's done.
Yeah.
But it's
doesn't work.
Repetition is keep going. Another little element of it gets let go.
Yeah.
Another little element of it lets go.
Yeah. I like to eternalize. There's a light switch inside of me a lot. And if the light goes off, I'm like, no, just got to turn the light back on. So I can take that action. I can switch it. I can. I've got that power.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you can bring a hand connecting to your heart center. Some people call it the spiritual heart or the emotional heart. It's all of those things, the heart chakra. And you can rest your other hand just comfortably on your abdomen. And start by taking a deep breath in through your nose and really expand that breath in all of your torso. And breathe out nice and slow through your nose. And do that one more time and really connect to the feeling and the sensation of your breath as you inhale. And slow down your breath out. Just really connect in your body and bring all of your awareness to your heart. Our heart's this big receiver. And the invitation is to really speak this and feel it and offer it from your heart. So how you do that is to connect with your heart and feel the sensation in that heart space. Feel it. Feel it. As you breathe, feel whatever the sensation is in your heart. And I'm going to speak this, it's like an invocation, an intention. I'm going to speak it in first person. And the invitation is for you to follow along and speak it from your heart. If you're at home, you can speak it out loud or just speak it silently from within your heart. Dear all of the souls that have ever hurt or harmed or taken advantage of all of my ancestors and I in all lifetimes, including this one, I forgive you. Whatever it is you and your ancestors have done to me that has caused me pain and suffering, I am willing to let it go. I forgive you. And to all of the souls that my ancestors and I have hurt or harmed or taken advantage of in any way, in all lifetimes, including this one, I sincerely apologize from the depths of my heart and soul for whatever way we have caused you pain and suffering. Please forgive me. Please forgive my ancestors. And then pick one person in your life. It could be a family member. It could be a work colleague, a friend. One person where you may have a little bit of friction or some bigger challenges or a lot of hurt in your relationship. It could be someone more in your present day life or from the past. And you're going to say, repeat this with me, dear the soul of, and you can speak the person's name. I love you. I sincerely apologize for whatever way my ancestors and I have caused you harm and suffering, whether it was unconscious or conscious, in all lifetimes. I deeply apologize. And I offer my forgiveness to you, to your ancestors, for whatever way you have caused me, my ancestors, harm and suffering, intentionally or unintentionally, in all lifetimes. I forgive you. The message and the mantra of this meditation, where we invite all these souls to come and chant and meditate with us. It's a universal practice. The message is, I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Bring love, peace, and harmony. So I'm going to chant this mantra. We're going to sing it. You can sing it silently or out loud. Listen first for the melody and stay connecting with your heart. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, harmony. Bring love, peace, harmony. We'll sing it a few more times. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, harmony. Bring love, peace, harmony. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, harmony. Bring love, peace, harmony. And if you don't resonate with singing, speak the mantra. I forgive you. Please forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Bring love, peace, and harmony. Forgiveness brings inner peace and inner joy. Forgiveness is letting go of what has happened in the past. Breathe in deeply through your heart center, into your abdomen. Breathe out slowly. Ground into your body. Ground all of this connection, this interaction. And as a courtesy of completing this beautiful forgiveness ritual, we ask all those on a soul level that came to offer and receive forgiveness, and all of the ancestors, please respectfully return. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then just take whatever time that you need to integrate before you open your eyes.
Thank you so much for that. That was really beautiful. And this conversation has been fascinating and beautiful and uplifting and hopeful and funny and enjoyable. So thank you so much for sharing who you are and for all of the different ways that you serve and you give to this community here on the coast we live and to various places that you offer things. And I just want to extend the offer for you to share the different places people can get in touch with you and can meet you and work with you, and what are all those ways? And we'll put those links in the show notes as well for people to connect to.
Thank you. I love, as soon as you invited me onto the podcast and the name Human Kinder, I was like, that's a great name for a podcast.
All credit to Jamie.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. So I have a web page and also a link tree that pretty much lists all the ways that all my services and events and offerings, and I'll give them to you to share. So that's how you can get in touch. I'm contactable via email or phone as well. So I'm grateful if you can share those links.
Nice. And there's monthly offerings of kirtan here on the coast in Narimba, and mantra workshops and all of the goodies.
Yeah, the kirtan on the Central Coast is offered the third Saturday of each month in the evening from 5:30. And I have a mantra medicine workshop coming up on July 19th, which will be just before the kirtan, which will be weaving in more of the Tao wisdom and practices with that Tao calligraphy light wall as a healing practice and opportunity. And because I'm passionate about singing, we're going to be working on the inner song channel, which is our 7 energy chakras. And it's going to be really, really powerful. I get very excited about offering service in that way.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for creating a space for us to be able to sing, because I was certainly told not to ever sing again.
There's a lot. We have a lot of messaging around voice and singing and speaking, right? You mentioned a few times, I feel like we could, this is like chapter 2 of the podcast, how people don't feel comfortable or safe speaking up. And it's the same with singing. And that's been a massive part of my healing journey, growing up with musicians as parents, music teachers and parents, and still having a lot of negative messages around using my voice and speaking up. So that's a big part of my healing journey.
I've been playing around with finishing the episode by asking this question, which is, what do you think is possible for humankind?
Love, peace, and harmony. I believe it's possible that we can all tap into our true power. And our true power is expressed from our selfless service. And the more of us on that planet doing that, that's how we can achieve more love and peace and harmony. And I truly, Master Shah channeled this mantra, love, peace and harmony, many years ago as a healing mantra, a healing message that this planet and that the human race, humankind need at this time, because it carries the message and the frequency for us to achieve love, peace and harmony. And the lines are, I love my heart and soul. When we can truly love not just our heart and soul, our consciousness, our body, all of us, that's self-healing, that's self-love. I love all humanity. That's to offer service unconditionally. When we can truly speak out, sing, I love all humanity. We may not feel it. Join our hearts and souls together. That's the winning formula, joining together, not separation, joining together for common intention, creating love, peace and harmony. Who doesn't want a world that is loving, harmonious and peaceful? Hopefully a lot of people on this planet want that, because if the more and more of us wanting that and contributing towards that, then we can create it. We don't have to believe the narrative that's on this planet right now. We each are powerful servants of humanity, of humankind. We are so powerful.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And let's make it happen.